Alright, and we're back. So, in between, I did a little bit of research. I went ahead and found the mechanic I was talking about with the Death Cold Worm, and it's called Unstoppable, which is not technically an evergreen term, but it is a term that was used in Magic Arena. Anyway, so I went and looked up a bunch of cards on the Gather that had these keywords, deal its damage as though it weren't blocked. And here's what we've got, and you can double check them, and it's not retcon to have trample, it's specifically this ability. So we've got the Death Cold Worm, which we've already went over. You've got Garrick, Savage Herald, so Legendary Planeswalker for 2 green, 4 colors. Reveal top card of your library if it's a creature card put in your hand, otherwise put in the bottom of your library. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to another target creature. -7. Until end of turn, creature you control gain. You may have this creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. We've got Gregory Ghost, 6/8 for 5. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Gregory Ghost unless you put 2 cards from your graveyard on top of your library. You know, honestly, not a bad deal. That's a pretty solid card. 2, discard a card. You may have Gregory Ghost assign its combat damage this turn as though it weren't blocked. Alright, look, this, I'm actually going to write this guy down. I actually like this one. Yeah. Gregory Ghost. Yeah, that's a solid one. You know, it's green. It's rare. It's Torment. You know, that's a neat ability. Hell yeah. That's a strong card. Then you got an Abdominal Mite. So flash enchant creature gets +3/+3. Enchanted creature may have its assign its combat damages that won't block. Looks like it's from a commander set. Maybe a new one. It is a wide border. You got Lone Wolf. You may have Lone Wolf assign its combat damage. Yep, and it's a 2/2. So if you're doing Wolf Tribal, it's been reprinted a bunch of times too. Outmaneuver. Oh, from Urza Saga. Nice. 1 red X. X target blocked creatures assign their combat damage this turn as though they weren't blocked at instant speed. That's pretty cool. So not bad. You can get that ability on a stick. Predatory Focus. 2 green, 3 colors, sorcery. You may have your creatures assign their combat damage this turn as though they weren't blocked. Pride of Lions does the same thing. It's a 4/4 for 2 green, 3 colors. Then you've got Proud Wildbinder, and I guess I never really paid attention to this because it was an uncommon. It's from Ikoria. So another way Ikoria is really just showing how well made it is. So 2 green or red, 2 colors, human warrior, trample, and then creatures you control with trample have this creature assign its combat damage that weren't blocked. So I mean that's alright. It has a little bit of a catch-all on there with they have to have trample before, but I mean still that's a pretty solid one, especially if they do have trample. Rocks, which is what I was most familiar with this ability from because you would get it in the 7th edition starter sets. Creature Rhino Beast, 5/5. You may have Rocks assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked, and then you can pay 3 to regenerate it. So he was one of the big creatures that you got, and that's why you bought him. And then it also came with Thorn Elemental, which is really cool art. Then you got Rooks, Patient Professor. So that's from one of the commander decks. 2 green, 2 colors. When Rooks enters battlefield or attacks, return target creature with no abilities from your graveyard to your hand. Ah, yes, this is the bear tribal commander everybody goes nuts about. You may have creatures you control no abilities assign their combat damage though they weren't blocked. Yeah, that's a pretty strong ability, and I'm sure that there's plenty of commander deck techs out here for this and doing bear tribal or just doing plain tribal. So Siege Behemoth, hexproof as long as Siege Behemoth is attacking. For each creature you control, you may have that creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. So that's cool. Spinebiter, Infect. You may have Spinebiter assign its damage as though it weren't blocked. It's an uncommon. Pretty interesting. A 3/4 with 2 green. I'm writing this one down too because he's got the Infect and can't be what can assign his combat damage as though he weren't blocked. So yeah, you can sling those infects out there with this guy. he's an uncommon, but you know, that's pretty solid. We'll put a note here that says infect. There's a lot of solid infect in green, and this I might have to revisit that Thantis Warweaver deck. That would be interesting. Uh, then here's the Thorn Elemental. New art. I'm used to the 7th edition one. You may have it assign its combat damages that weren't blocked. Then you have Tornado Elemental. When enters the battlefield, does 6 damage to each creature with flying. Pretty solid Tornado. And you may have it as combat damage. And then you've got Wolfpack, which is 2 green, 6 colorless for a 7/6 wolf. You may have it assign as combat damage as though it weren't blocked as well. So, you know, some really neat options here. But I want to pause it. We'll get back. You know, a little side note now on this one, I suppose. Actually, you know what? We'll make this just a whole another video because I want to talk some more about how neat this ability is. Whenever you're looking to be able to get that damage through on someone, I'm thinking infect, right? Because of, you know, this Spinebiter guy. But a lot of times you need to do damage to get abilities to trigger or to have spells go off. I think that building a deck around this ability, because it's in green predominantly, I think it's pretty much just green. Maybe, well, yeah, maybe 1 or 2 red that you can do. So you can do a Gruul deck. So you got 2 things that are in red. Technically, Wild Bonder, and then Outmaneuver, which is up here. So you've got a couple things that are in green and red, but most of it's going to be in green. So you could do mono green if you wanted to with this. I think that the Thantis Warweaver would be really neat. And I've been working on revamping the deck and doing another video on it because Phyrexian Obliterator is one of my favorite black cards. And when it's dealt damage, whatever source dealt the damage, that player sacrificed that many permanents. So you're forcing them to block it so that you can make them sack. And if you make them really big and you sling a lot of damage on them, you know, and of course, if you can choose, you know, the big one to block, then that's pretty good. And with that deck, a lot of times you get by with, well, I've got to attack every turn, right? So I'm playing Thantis, and I have to attack every single freaking turn. Well, what if you're able to say, all right, well, he's got a ton of blockers. I really can't get up with him. I don't have trample on everything white yet, but I need to get through to finish this guy off, or I need to do my commander damage. I think a lot of these would be really helpful in helping you get through with that. I mean, you couple that with fear. You do it with all of these different, like stun from red, all of these different 2 and 1 drop abilities that you get from red that say target creature can't block this turn, or target creature is unblockable this turn. You know, and there's other ways you can fling things. So I think that would be my revamp that I'm deciding to work on just now. I'm going to take that note down. I'll take a note down right now for that. How about that? So make a Warweaver. So yeah, I mean it's a neat ability. It's not an evergreen ability, you know, but there's enough cards to support. So it says there are 16 cards in the search when I did the search. So you have the option to pull 16 cards. So make Warweaver with the with the deal damage as though. So the original weren't blocked. So the original Warweaver deck that I built did a lot of stalling in order to get your big guys out. Also did quite a bit of ramp, and so there was a lot of fog effects. I did a little bit of a spider tribal build for somebody in particular, and they liked it pretty good. It was interesting. But I've been thinking about revamping it because, you know, I'm a small channel. I don't get a lot of views. But the Warweaver build seemed to have quite a few views on it, and quite a bit of interaction. And so I figure people maybe like it, and they want to see something like that. So I might go and revisit it. I've also went through and I've been collecting green and red creatures that have infect. So I think I'm going to mess around and make that an infect heavy deck and combat oriented, so control. I think that'll be a really interesting build. It'll be different than what I like to play. I think it'll be a good way to get around some combat tricks, to do combat tricks yourself. But yeah, so this is a quick 10-minute video, but we'll get back to the part 2. I will do a different video and do the part 2 for the portal stuff. But I just wanted to do this sidetrack video because I figured somebody might be interested in seeing what I was talking about, you know, because most of the time I don't know what I'm talking about anyway. But also, you know, it's a cool ability. I think you should check it out. I think you should pick up some of these cards because I'm sure not too many of them are all that expensive. So until next time,